Hey guys, welcome back to the In and Out Talks podcast brought to you by Tier 1 Performance. Today's guest is Eric Metz. This is the second time he's been on now, and we've got a whole lot to bring to you guys today. Eric, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
So, Eric, man, since we've talked last time, a lot has happened. One of which is you've done another show.
That's correct. Yes.
Dude, I want to kind of dive into that and what you're doing now. So bring us through it, because you're at the beginning of your prep the first time you were on the show, right?
Yes. No. So I finished my first show.
You finished your first show.
I finished my first show, and then I was kind of the beginning of like the prep for the second show.
Okay.
When we're on the podcast, yeah.
What did you do differently for this past off season than you did the first time around for your first show?
Yeah, so what I kind of did differently was I kind of kept the training pretty much the same thing. You know,
Okay.
Training still stayed the same. Nothing really switched. You know, same movements, same compound movements, accessories, all those things like that. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to keep the same thing because, again, you're not really trying to second guess yourself, but also, too, you got a nice like set program going forward, and then it's, you know, old school wins all the time, right? So, you know, you try to do new schools, like you try to, you know, figure out different movements, different techniques, things like that, make sure you feel it. That's just time to waste. When you know the movements, you know what exercises work and things like that. At the end, it's going to be more simplicity. It's going to win the game and things like that. So I just kept it simple as possible. Know the exercise that I was going to need to. Yeah, I'll change up the variation, but maybe one or two exercises, but that's about it and things like that. You know, really, you know, and that's the thing too, is like on the off season, you focus more on strength training in a sense too. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you go heavy in the off season because, again, that's where you get the most fuel. You get a lot of food. But then, like, during the prep and stuff like that, I'll switch from more kind of like, I still did a little bit of like barbell movements, but then I switch over to machines to get more volume and less stress on the joints and things.
For sure. And for those viewers out there, Eric is a natural bodybuilder, and he's looking way bigger than last time. So he's doing something right. He's doing something right. And so, you know, rep ranges in off season, because you mentioned that you kind of look for strength. Like, what is your ideal rep range for what kind of movements? And do you stick to a lot of compound lifts?
Yeah, I stick to a lot of compound lifts, and right now I'm in the off season again too.
Okay.
For this next coming show and things that don't have a specific date yet, but just kind of working towards it. But what I did last time was I worked more strength, so rep ranges like 1 to 5 and things like that, like maybe like, you know, 6 to 10 sets and things.
Wow.
So compound moves, you know, and that's your regular bench, bar, like deadlift, incline, you know, RDLs, all those things like that. So I'll focus on like more of the volume side of things on compound moves, and then just followed by other accessories like pull-ups, pull-downs, you know, anything that follows the next guy on the muscle group that you're working on.
For sure. And I mean, you and I see eye to eye on the old school methodology, because I think some people today, correct me if I'm wrong though, a lot of bodybuilders are trying to reinvent the wheel. Mm-hmm. They're using a lot of machines. They're relying too much on maybe the supplements they're taking rather than the hard work and effort that goes into the compound lifts like guys did in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
No, 100%. And, you know, like you said, trying to invent the wheels, like, again, it's like try to come up with different things, like different movements. Like, I was like, oh, like if you do this with this cable and things that like contract you, like it's going to target a little lat. Yeah. It's like, I mean, yeah, like some parts are going to target a little lat, but at the end of the day, like the old school method is going to build you up more than just try to focus in that one specific area. And it's just like, all right, like you focus on pull-ups, that's going to target your entire back. Like,
there's no way around it.
You can honestly do like pull-ups and rows.
And you'd be set.
And you'd be set for the
You'd have a solid back.
Exactly. You do 8 to 10 sets that day, boom, you're solid right there. So it's like, again, what we were talking about earlier, is like simplicity is like, that's all you need. It's like, you don't need trying to like go like machines and stuff like that. Yeah, like machines are cool. Like they do have a time and place and things like I said earlier. It's like, depending on what stages you're in the season, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, like you're like 8 weeks out and like you're still doing like 12 to 20 rep range. It's like, all right, maybe like let's go machines because you're not trying to put that much stress on the joints because, again, you don't have enough food to supplement that workload, right?
Exactly.
So it's like, for me, it's like, you know, you look at all these old schools, it's like you compare it to nowadays, like they look great and things like that, but like they don't look as what they used to back in the 90s and 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Like Phil Heath, Ronnie Coleman, things like that. I mean, they don't have method. Like, yes, Ronnie Coleman is like, he would never change it or anything like that, but I mean, you look at, he just did heavy weight until he went on show and things like that. So there's always a time, place to lift heavy, and that's most of the time it comes in the off season. Now it all depends on like what you need to focus on, right? Mm-hmm. So you got some lagging body parts that, you know, smaller than others you got to bring out. Then you just gotta have to tailor on what compound moves you need to target and things like that. and just kind of go for there. But at the end of the day, like old school's gonna win the show because you like, and there's so much more different information now, right? And try to look up, partial reps, half reps, 4-range of motion. It's like you don't know which one to do. It's like, to be honest, the best one is like do what works for you and things like that, and just keep going on from there. Like for me, 4-range of motion, slow control. Like I can control weight, whether it's lightweight or heavyweight and things like that. So the more you can control, the more you can engage the muscle, the more growth you're gonna get out of it at the end of the results.
Bodybuilding legend Lee Haney back in the 80s would always say, do half a rep, you only get half a muscle.
Yeah.
You do the full rep, you get the full muscle belly, right?
Exactly.
So that's the thing is I think perfect form and compound lifts and old school methodology, that wins at the end of the day. Those guys had the striations, the quality, and I don't think a lot of viewers realize that like had they had the scientific knowledge that we have today about nutrition, about anabolics, about supplements, about all the above, I think their physiques would have dusted today's physiques.
Yeah.
Absolutely dusted them.
100%. I mean, look at videos from Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath. They'd be like talking about like.
I grew up on Ronnie Coleman videos, dude. I mean, that guy trained so insane. He never had like 5-second descent. And I mean, granted, like I know he's in a wheelchair now, right? But he trained so hard and so intensely. He probably didn't have to do the weight that he did because there was some jerking involved, but there was a lot of contraction with that weight.
Right.
And some argue that he might not have looked the way he did had it not been for the types of lifts that he did.
100%. And then, we just got talked about, it's like, like Ronnie Coleman, like if you knew the information now, it's like, all right, like periodize, like, let's not go this heavy, like on like compounds as much and things like that. Let's just relax a little bit, let our joints heal up. It's like, all right, he could have been like a whole different animal. And like he may not be in a wheelchair or anything like that now, but, he enjoyed it. That's why he's an 8-time Olympian.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So I don't think he regrets anything.
No, you're never going to change his mindset either. Like
I'm like, Ronnie, you probably didn't need to bend over row 600 pounds 5 weeks out from a show. But that was his mindset. That was his mentality.
Exactly.
So you're not going to change that about it.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can't change someone's mindset. Like, whether it's like, if it works for them, it works for them. They said at the end of the day, no matter what consequences you can pay at the end, like if you put legacy out there, that's all you ask for. Is I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like on your deathbed, it's like what you put out, right? Like
exactly.
You gave it your all and things like that versus like leaving anything on the table.
People are gonna remember his name forever.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, look at all these memes, right?
Yeah.
Like common thing, lightweight, baby.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's gonna remember those sayings right there. They're not gonna remember they're gonna remember him lifting heavy, but they're not. You don't hear conversations about like him talking in a wheelchair or anything like that.
No.
Like you're always gonna ask questions like, like what was the mindset? What was the method? Like what was try to get all the information from him while he's alive right now before you can't get the information.
And I remember, leading up to your first show, you kind of had to rush to get down to the weight that you needed to be at, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So for the second show leading up to it, were you different about the type of cardio that you did, and like were you kind of easing into it to where like you weren't killing yourself before the show?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of obstacles going to this, into that show. Like in March, I had septoplasty surgery. So for you guys that don't know that, there's a surgery done for your nose. I just never developed the right bone structure, in a sense, for the nasal to breathe properly and things like that. So my nasal capacity was like so tight, like I couldn't breathe through my nose, to be honest.
Wow. So
I was pretty much just like trying to get all the oxygen just through my mouth. Like I get like some of it, but like I said, the airway was just like made this much airflow going through my nose. So most of the time, like I couldn't breathe through my nostrils. So like I just tried to catch some air through my mouth, and I was there. So I had to get that. So that took me about a week and a half out of commission from the from lifting and things like that. So I couldn't lift for about 10 days. I got cleared. Then it took me another week to just do light weights, right? Just like maybe 15, 20 pounds, but like band movements. That's about it for the week because I couldn't really push myself either way because if I would raise my blood pressure, then like your nose has like so much capillaries that if I would just push like one vessel out, it would start bleeding and just had to delay the process. So I was cautious of like, all right, I don't want to set myself back again and then try to rush my process faster again. So I took my time. So I think about like after a full month, after like those 10 days, a week of like light movements, I got back into the intensity and it was fine after that. So to this day, I'm able to breathe through my nose too. So it's much better. I tell you that.
Oh, I bet your lifting is way easier too.
Oh, it's like, dude, recovery is so much better than it was before. Like sometimes, like especially leg days, like I had to take another like 30 to like another minute just to catch my breath and things like that, just because I wasn't getting the oxygen I needed. So now it's like this, like my like recovery between sets is so much faster and like so much better and things like that.
That's awesome.
Like my weights and like the weights increasing too. I just haven't seen like this. And I've been blessed too, because like, you know, I look back, it's like, it's crazy how I was still gaining while I was still having this like this deconstruction of my nose and things like that, like not the proper way of breathing or like the proper way of construction of the nose. So to be able to like go through all that and still gain the strength and the size while not getting the full like, oxygen, and plus sleeping too, that affected my sleep.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Man, there would be times I wake up, I got hit by like 18-wheeler. I was like, I wake up, I get like 7-8 hours of sleep. Next thing I know, I'm still like doggone tired. Yeah. I'm like, yo, what the hell's going on? I was like, man, I just did 7 hours of sleep and I'm so tired. Like, dude, it got to the point where I was like taking like 2 or 3 naps a day now. And I'm the type of guy, like before, I would never take a nap.
Right.
So I was taking 2 or 3 naps a day, like 20, 30 minutes, just to get as much rest as I could in between, like in my clients, my training, anything like that. If I could just find some time, just take a little 15, 20-minute nap and just take it.
Like John.
Yeah, exactly, like John. So it was rough at the time, but I had surgery during the time. And then I developed some kind of like gut health issue. I never really got like diagnosed. I kind of like diagnosed it myself over time. I think it's just like when I was looking back at my diet too, I was doing a lot of like bagels, English muffins, and things like that too. And I think like my body just wasn't used to so much gluten and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think don't take advice from me, but this is what I figured out. Like this is what I kind of diagnosed myself and things like that. Was a kind of gluten intolerance, because I started getting like eczema like on my arms and like rash on like on my sideburns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'll be like scratching, like you see snowflakes. I'm like, yo, this is terrible right here. So I do some research too. It was like at one point I kind of like not really cut my calories, but switched my carb sources. So I like kind of like stopped rice for like a week or two, switched to sweet potatoes, kind of like changed up a couple things just to kind of heal my gut and just kind of calm down the inflammation, just kind of let my gut reheal before I could get back into it too. So I had the surgery followed by the gut health issue, and then on top had a lot of weddings and bachelor parties, so did a lot of traveling. Like from the time at the end of April to about beginning of June, just straight traveling. I was like there's one point I was like 3 weeks back to back to back. I went to like North Carolina to Florida to South Carolina, and I was like, man, like there's a couple times that not really threw me off. I was like, some accidents like, all right, you're in the middle of nowhere in the mountains on the lake house. Gym's about 50 minutes away. It's like,
I gotta go.
I know, I gotta go, but it's like I don't have a car either. It's like I know they're not gonna let me go. I'm like, that's the same thing too. It's like, man, it's gonna like take me at least like 2 hours to get to the gym, and then like another hour and a half to work out, and another 2 hours to get back. So I was like, I don't think it's feasible. So I just did like bodyweight workouts, and then of course like just get lots of cardio.
With some trees.
Yeah, right.
Some branches.
Some branches. Do a little swimming things. That do some cardio. So. Thankfully, like, sometimes it doesn't hurt to take extra rest, but at the same time, too, just kind of throws your regimen off, too. So
especially when you're prepping for a show.
Exactly. And, going into it, I think I got back in mid-June, and that's when I had about, like, 12 weeks left.
Okay.
Well, so actually, I had, like, about 8 weeks left. So we had to really crunch it. Like, I was doing cardio and things like that. I'd started cardio a little bit before and things like that. I was doing about 30 minutes about 4 times a week. Yeah. But then, like, 8 weeks were left. Then it's like, we're getting ready for the show. Then I think it's like 5 weeks left. The promoter calls me, hey, the show got pushed back. So I got pushed for another month. So I was thankful at the same time that the show got pushed back for unforeseen occurrences and things like that. So
right.
I was thankful they got pushed back because it gave me another whole month now. So
yeah,
I didn't have to really kill myself like I was going to this time. But like, I still kind of had to kill myself a little bit too, just because like I wasn't like 100% conditioned. But I had like more muscle mass than I did last time though. So that was like the big W right there.
So skin was tighter.
Skin was tighter, yeah. Skin was tighter. And like I had more striations, like 6 pounds heavier than I did like my first show and things like that. Wow. But I think, that just comes over time, just maturity, right? Like 100%. Once you go like through the bulk and cut phase once, like your body kind of understands it. But I learned at the end of time is like my body doesn't like a drastic cut. Like I learned it's like there's so much stress in my body. I was just like, it was just killing me. So just inside, to be honest. So I was like, all right, like this goal this time around, I was like, Just stay within 15, 20 pounds of my weight cap. So when I do cut, it's not as drastic as like these next two shows, or the first two shows I did. So cardio was about like 45, 50 minutes. So it's not like crazy stupid like you hear other people be doing like
I don't have 2 hours.
I don't have 2 hours. Yeah, exactly. Like 45 minutes in the morning, then like an hour at night. It's like, no, I never really had to do it. There'd be a couple times, like honestly, there'd be like a couple days, like I had to do like 30 minutes in the morning or like 45 minutes in the morning and then 30 minutes at night. So I'd do an hour 15. But besides, that was like 2 days. Like compared to other people who had to do 7 days a week, like that's different. So, I mean, I never really had to really kill myself with cardio and things like that.
Yeah. And now, what was the federation that you were competing under for the second show?
For the second show, yeah, it was, so we thought it was gonna be natural because the first time I competed was a natural show and things like that. And so again, like the federation called IFBB, but it was I guess it was a branch chain or however they want to like describe it, but it's called Physique America.
Right.
So I guess it was like trying to be a natural show underneath the IFBB. But you know, when we had like so many like unknown answers going to the show, like because I was trying to like figure out different answers, like asking like the promoter, asking like the head guy of like, hey, like what's the weight cap, you know, all the information about the show. Couldn't get the answers, so we were just going with the plan of like going 217. Like we just had the idea of like, all right, we're just gonna target 217.
Right.
And then like 3 weeks later, 3 weeks before the show, we finally get like a weight cap. Information, and it was like, all right, 223 was like the weight cap, or like 226 actually.
Right.
So I was like, okay, but we were still going to target for 217 because again, I wasn't fully 100% conditioned, so we're going to try to get as much condition as we could leading up to the show, and then just go from there after that. But yeah, there's so many unknown answers, and so we were just like, when we got in the show, I was like, yeah, it wasn't as natural as we thought it was. You go in the check-in, no drug test or anything like that. So when you get no drug test, and like especially like if you like again like don't know anything, it's like you walk in, like you compare the guy that is in your class and you look at yourself, it's like you start to scratch your head.
You can visibly see. I think like when you've been in the game for a while, like we have, you can visibly notice if someone's natural or not. You know what I mean?
Dude, 100%. It's like the first thing I look is like the shoulder caps, right? Because I'm looking at the shoulder caps, like most of the time you can tell, it's like, all right, they're more rounded. I was like, no, mine don't look like that. I was like, yeah, mine doesn't look like that.
Yeah, what's in his water over there?
Yeah, right? It's like there must be somewhere in another country we're not getting or something
Exactly.
like that. Right? So I was like comparing like all these other competitors and myself. I was like, man, like these people a lot more like cut up, dice, hard and things like that. I was looking at myself, I was like, wow, I don't even look like nothing like that.
But tell our viewers what place you came in still.
Yeah, so after all of that, I came in third place in my division. So it was
impressive.
Like I said, it was a humbling experience. Like competing, like again, first pro show too, especially competing against guys who were outside the U.S. Right? Like I was competing against a guy in Jamaica and Poland too. So and comes to find out after the show, the Poland guy was already done like many pro shows, and like the show he did before was like he played second in the Spanish pro. So I was competing against a guy that was already like had like, you know, experience underneath his belt and things like that. But to compete against like those guys like that, just get an experience and just learn from them and like just kind of see the whole different aspect. It was like, it's definitely eye opening.
Well, not to mention like since then, I mean, you've refined your posing, your routine, your stage presence.
Yeah.
You're probably more comfortable in that environment, like. And so you were able to take away some great positives from the show.
100%, and like at the same time too, it's like, yeah, you know, it's like one man show and things that at the end, like all the like they come together and like help you out too. Because like, another unknown answer that came into play was there was one pose called like the vacuum of thighs. We never really worked on because we were like looking at the natural like pose and it's like, okay, cool, like they won't call it like, yeah, like it's cool to do and things like that, but like they won't call that as a actual pose to hit. Right. Like most of the time it's ab and thighs, right? Yeah. So like so my coach like texted me like 10 minutes before I had to hop on stage and it's like, hey, like they're doing vacuum of thighs, and I'm like, fuck. I was like, I don't know what. Like I knew how to do it a little bit, but like I never really practiced it and things like that because we were like practicing like, okay, cool, like just the ab and thighs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I was like 10 minutes just like trying to like learn as quickly as I can how to vacuum things like that. And when I stepped on stage, that's why I got automatically pitched third place was because that reason, because I couldn't perform the vacuum thighs. As like I could do it a little bit, but it wasn't to the liking. So the reason I got docked to third place automatically was because of that pose right there. So that was like, I learned now, it's like you always just expect the unexpected, right? You always got to be ready for anything. So like that's another goal too, coming to ops is like, make sure I just know every single pose, because you don't know what they're going to call it, or especially like if you don't have any answer, you just got to be ready for anything, right? So like coming in that, not knowing that pose, it kind of shot my confidence down a little bit too, because like you train all that time and you've done all that work just to not learn that specific pose. You know, it kind of really shot down like a little bit too. And like you could see on the stage too, I wasn't trying to present, but at the same time too, it's like I just got in my head, it's like, damn, you just worked so hard just for that pose, and then you know, it just shot you down for a little bit. So then after that, like once it, like we did like the rounds and things like that, we had our own posing routine, and after that, I just kind of cleared my head, just decided to show like my full package, and I did a lot better on like the posing routine than I did with the judges and things like that too. So
for sure,
you know, it's like you live and learn too, and things like that. It's like, you know, confidence, you gotta keep it there the whole time, regardless of what's gonna happen, because you don't want to show it, because it kind of shows weakness, but at the same time, like regardless of whatever happens and things like that, it's like you just gotta live the moment and just enjoy it, you know, regardless of what situation it comes across.
Definitely, man. And so moving forward, are you wanting to continue with that same federation, or is there another federation in mind that you're wanting to compete in?
Yeah, so I was talking to my coach, and we're going like a more natural federation. So
good.
I think it's called I forget the name, don't quote me on it, but I think it's called NPBA, something like that, like Natural Power Bodybuilding Association, things like that. So we're definitely going National Federation, and once the 24 shows come out, we kind of figure out a show that's going to be more ideal to get ready for, but probably find a show too that's here in Texas. So, because I'm sure you know, like trying to travel or like get ready for the shows, it's not easy. You got to bring all your food, you got to make sure you got all your supplements too, going through the airport and things like that. So.
Oh yeah, and I feel like too, doing a local show, you have more pull with the judges, you have more pull with the promoters.
Yeah. And
they tend to side with local guys. Because I remember competing in Dallas, man, there was like the promoters and the judges were backstage giving tips and advice to the Dallas guys. And that's when it clicked to me. I was like, man, this is what they're talking about when like it's like the political side of things, right? So I think, you know, doing a local show is always in favor of yourself as well. But I think you competing in a real legitimate natural division, you're going to mop the floor with those guys.
I believe so too, because I was like, yeah, if I can place third place like in the pro level and things like that, and like I would like get into, I wasn't really 100% conditioned, so if I could do that and like really get conditioned, things like that, and like really just start from the bottom and work my way up, because again with the new federation now, I'm gonna have to work from ground zero again, right? I'm gonna have to work at the amateur level when that to qualify for the pro card again, things like that.
And would you say for all those bodybuilding fans out there, at the amateur level, is it more important to ace and dominate like the conditioning aspect of things and the posing and the symmetry rather than just pure size?
Yeah, I would say more of that too, but also too, like if you're gonna like do your first show too, it's like you just try to do as best you can too, right? Like you don't know what to expect unless you have a coach from the start, like 6 months out.
Right.
Then he's gonna give you all the guides. But like for me, it's like you really don't know what because I did was most without a coach till like 5 weeks out. So it's like you kind of like you do work on size too, because they're never going to tell you like you don't look big or something like that. You can't have like a bigger muscle group, right?
Right.
But at the end, it's like I would just work on like just mostly like diet and the mindset too, just dialing in, because that's what's going to come down to it. Because especially when you cut and like had to like lower carbs and things and then like, do cardio, I was like, there's gonna be some days like it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like, man, I gotta do cardio, but I really don't want to. But that's what's gonna separate yourself from the champions. Is doing those little things that other people are not willing to do.
Yeah, and it's like an illusion too. Like the leaner you are, the bigger you look on stage underneath those lights.
Exactly, and like the leaner you get, the more like, especially if you have the time right, like carbs, water intake, all those things like that. Like you do look bigger than what you think too. And I think the biggest thing, especially with bodybuilding too, is like body dysmorphia, right? Like you're always gonna critique. You're the hardest critic to yourself too. So every time you look at yourself, man, it's like, man, dude, I look like shit today. It's like, I don't look this great and things like that. I was like, you pinch yourself. It's like, man, why does this like have more than it should have, right? So I think body dysmorphia does play a huge role too, because you're always looking at yourself as like, man, like some days look great, some days like you don't know what happened, things like that. So it's always great to have like a second eye too to help you out and just kind of get you through it, because sometimes that can like take you off. It's like, all right, like maybe you eat less calories than what you normally do, or you do a little more cardio than you need to and things like that. So sometimes that can like mess your mindset up too with body dysmorphia.
Absolutely. And you and I have talked about it a little bit, but I think you have a different perspective on off-season like body fat percentage, right?
Yeah.
So I think for all those young viewers out there who are listening to these influencers about dirty bulking rather than clean and lean bulking, I think your quality suffers the more you dirty bulk and the more body fat you put on yourself, because then whenever you take it off, you don't know where your weak points are necessarily, because you're holding fat in those areas. Whereas if you stay, in that 12 to 15% body fat tops in the off season, I think you have a better idea of A, what your physique looks like, and B, you don't have to kill yourself to lean out.
100%. Yeah, you touched on a couple of those things, because that's what I experienced. I mean, again, you don't really need dirty bulk, because I've done that in my past too. Like,
we've all been there.
Yeah, we all done that too, right? We all experienced some type of degree of like dirty bulking, right?
Right.
I learned that through college. Like when coach just told me like, hey, we just need you to get 260. Or like, how? Like, you don't know how. Like, you're a young college kid, so you start eating anything, right?
Right.
PB&Js, Cliff Bars, like just double your lunches. Of course, school food at the time wasn't that good too, so
right.
You start doing anything you can, just pack on size, but you really didn't know like what was good size and what was like, I guess, good weight and bad weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like at times like that's what kind of started a trend, and I did that for like the next 2 shows of like bulking, right? I would just bulk myself up to 250 because that's what I thought I needed to do.
Yep.
And it's like, and then when it came to like, you touched on like, yeah, we have more body fat and you're trying to do posing, you try to work harder than you need to.
Exactly.
Because you start posing, you start like trying to squeeze more than like you have to, just because you can't see the muscles because you have more body fat. So when you like try to practice for posing, it screws you up, like hardly too, just because like you try and like pop that muscle up, but you just can't because you got so much body fat. Mm-hmm. So staying within the 12 to 15% body fat, like in the off season, like you can still see your striations, but like you don't have to work as hard as you need to make sure like make those muscles popped out. And that was the one thing. It's like, all right, that's not what I'm going to do again this off season.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay around like 240, 245. Not really going to push 250 again. Keep the lines, keep the six pack and things like that, and just stay there. I'm content with that. And like 4,200 calories, like clean bulking too. So like most of my diet consists of like beef, rice, fruit, eggs. That's it. Tuna. That's it right now. That's all I'm pretty much eat. Now again too is like, you can still have those foods too, right? You can still have like your treats, your sweets, because I'm a fat kid at heart, so I still like my ice cream, my donuts, and like my cookies and things like that too. It just all comes to like, like compare yourself like, like what type of training you do, and like is your training very intense or is it moderate or anything like that? So if you look at your training, it's like, okay, like how much can you have, right? How much consumption can you have of those type of foods, right? It's like, all right, like you train moderate, but you go kill a whole box of pizza. I don't think that's gonna be ideal for you, just because like your body's just not used to burn that much, just because of the intensity of training you do and things like that. I think like if you train at like a high intense level with like the right program and like the right recovery, I would think like then you can do that. But you gotta work yourself up. You can't just do it for 1 week or 2 and just jump on the train either. You gotta slowly build yourself up. Like you build yourself in the gym, same thing with nutrition. Yeah. You gotta build yourself up, right? Like I always tell people too, is like, like I just did like a 30-inch pizza challenge like last week, and they said it's like people wonder how can you eat that and still look like that? Well, it's like one, my intensity like level is like very high all the time, and things like that. So I know what type of training I do. 2 is like I didn't like jump the gun. Like I've been doing this for like 3 years now, so I understand like I work the consumption of the calories inside a meal, right? So it's like let's just say for example like large pizza is like 3,000 calories, right? Kind of work it, right? So you like have like 2 to 4 weeks is that pizza, right? You need 3,000 calories. You work that out, and then you just like, all right, bump it to 3,500, right? Add a little bit of something else. It's like training too. You just add a little bit more weight, and then your body will grow and things like that. Same thing with kind of metabolism, right? With the intensity, the activity levels, all those things like that, that can build you up over time to stay lean, but also enjoy those foods at the same time.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And so you advise don't lose sight of the six pack in the off season.
Yeah.
Keep sight of the six pack, and then you can. Okay, so like for you, for example, how often do you do, and I call them treat meals instead of cheat meals, because I think at the end of the week, if you train as hard as we do, you deserve to kind of treat yourself with a little meal, right?
Yeah.
So how often do you have like a specific day or how many times a week?
Yeah, so I do it about 2 times a week,
Okay.
give or take, and things like that. It depends how I feel, and depends like right now, like how my gut's handling things too, and things like that. So like my gut like doesn't look the way like I want to, like I'm just having some issues. I'll probably just tone it down 1 time a week and things like that. And like if I do 2, it'd be like Wednesday or Saturdays.
Perfect.
Wednesdays or Saturdays. If not, just 1 time a week, just Saturdays. So yeah, I mean like, you know, I guess for you guys, like you can call it however you guys want to, right? Treat days, cheat days, reward days. Call it however you like. I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty much how you're going to stick to it, right? It's like how you want to look at it too, in that perspective, right?
Yeah.
I always look at it as like a reward day or like a cheat day too, because like you work hard to kind of like earn that, right?
Exactly.
It's like, and that's what I look forward to. Like every Saturday, I look forward to that meal, and then after that, I don't crave it again.
Yeah.
Because it's like
it didn't make you feel great after you eat it, right? Like in a way, but you're not regretting eating it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, man, I enjoyed it. And it's like, all right, next Saturday, just do the same thing again. And maybe switch it up too. I might not do pizza. I might do wings. I might do burgers. I might do something else. Like every week is going to be something else. Or it might be the same thing too. Depending on what it is. Like last offseason, we were just doing straight pizza because we were doing like a high carb day where we just double the carbs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So at one point, I had like 1,200 grams of carbs in a single day. So we're doing like an experiment too, where I know, right?
Impressive.
So we were just, so we're doing an experiment. It's like, all right, like if we do get to the point where like, you know, depending on, because like you experienced it with the show too, right? It ran late, so much late, didn't need to, right? Like you were supposed to go on 6, never gone to like 8 or 9 o'clock, right?
Jordan was there. Yeah, dude. Props to Jordan, man. Too, he was being a great team player. Yeah. That was awesome.
So, but so we're, you know, I'm sure like it's like, all right, what carb sources work great for you that you look great, full and things like that, but you don't look flat and like, you know, different things that on stage. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we were testing different experiences. I just kind of stick with pizza because I know how pizza operates my body. You know, I do like. Every time I wake up in the morning, I feel bloated, like I feel fine, and like I'm ready to go and things like that. So I've been sticking with pizza because it's what's working with me. I think at the end of the day too, that's what people get like all messed up. Is to try all different things, right? Different meals, different foods. Like this person tell you X, Y, and Z. It's like, guys, at the end of the day, the best science is yourself.
You need to know your body better than anybody else.
Exactly, 100%. Because like at the end of the day, you know what foods make you feel better. You know what foods like help you with your training, and you know what foods help you with recovery. So at the end of the day, the best science is yourself. So if you know, like, all right, let's say for example, like bread and stuff like that, that shit don't work for me. Mm-mm. So I know for myself, like if I do have bread, I just know it's like, all right, I can maybe have it once a month and things like that, because I know like like you also got to understand, you got to know the consequences, mm-hmm. like of what food's gonna do to your body. So. 100%. You can't like just like have that food and then expect like nothing's gonna happen. Of course, something's gonna happen. Like inflammation is gonna happen. Extra sodium that you're not used to is gonna happen. A little bit more water weight is gonna happen too. So yeah, understand all those factors too that goes into it. So even like you're not bodybuilding, you're just a regular person. Like you still gotta understand those perspectives and consequences going into it. It's like, yeah, it's like. That's why like the scale went up a couple of pounds. It's not because you gained body fat. It's because you got all these other factors that came into play. It's like from that food or from that source of, you know, ingredients you added into it. So
100%. And before we close things out, what are you up to now with your training and coaching? And then where can people find you and contact you on social media?
Yeah, so with my training right now, I do like 5 days a week, you know, kind of like bro split. Mm-hmm. Like Monday to Friday legs. I do quads on Monday, hammies on Friday. Chest and tries Tuesday, back and bis Wednesday, and shoulders on Saturday. And I'm about like 4,200 calories right now, about 630 grams of carbs right now too.
Yes.
So again, guys, carbs are not the enemy. You just gotta understand your body and things like that. I'm not saying eat that much, but find enough where carbs can. Also, another thing too, before we cut off too, is like I've been doing a different experience, and again, I don't know any scientific, but this is what I've been experiencing since the past show. Yeah. For a couple months, is like I've been having no carbs at meal 1 and 5. Just put all my carbs around my training. So I have like 210 grams of rice pre and post, and like 200 grams at meal 4. Dude, like my training, my recovery has never felt better.
So 0 carbs between meals 1 and 4 of the day, and you do 6 meals a day?
Yeah, 6 meals. I do 5 meals a day.
5 meals a day.
No carbs at meal 5. So right before bed, and waking up in bed too. So no carbs. I kind of just, I guess, let the glucose just, pass on, refill it back up around training, and that's how I go and things like that. So it's been working for me. Yeah, I don't really know much science behind it, but that's what's been working for me. Because before I would do carbs in the morning, but sometimes I don't know, you really don't need that many carbs in the morning because again, I'm not really training or anything like that. So I'll just put more carbs where my training's before and after, and I've been feeling so much better and things like that with that.
That's good to know.
But yeah, so I mean, again too with bodybuilding or just anything, just fitness journey itself is you just gotta do trial and errors, right? There's so many trials and errors I've done past. It's all right, maybe let's see how this one works out too. Because at the end of the day, if you are going to do bodybuilding, you gotta learn. It's all right, the only way you're gonna win the show is being the better package than you were the last show, right?
You have to be improving.
Exactly. Every time, every show. The only way you're not improving is you staying the same. Things like that. So you're still trying to do the same method like you did last time, and that didn't work. Is you're just doing yourself a disservice.
You're either getting better or you're getting worse.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And you won't know until you get to that, until that day happens, right? Exactly. So that's another thing. Is just do a lot of trial and errors. But with doing trial and errors, don't just do it for 2-4 weeks and then try to do something else. Give yourself at least 6 months, because then you can give enough time to 3 to 6 months to okay, this is what's working. Let's do a little small tweaks. Same thing with your training, right?
Yes.
It's all right, cool. You keep the same movements pretty much throughout the entire program, but just tweak maybe 1 or 2 exercise variations, and that's all you need to do and things like that. Same thing with your diet too. It's all right, maybe this amount of quantity is too much. Let's just tone it down a little bit, or hey, let's just substitute this food at this time. Let's see how we feel. And again, it's just trying after that. So. But where you guys can find me, Instagram at Coach Eric Metz. I do have a YouTube channel too. Is my name, Eric Metz, and that's where you guys can find me and things like that.
And we'll be sure to post all that information on these as well. Eric, man, it's been an honor to have you on. I really appreciate you coming out and doing this, and we're looking forward to seeing you again.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on, Mitch.